Good afternoon. I would like to call the Human Resources Committee to order. It is now 5:40 on January 28th, 2019, and we are at Nashua High School North. Can we have a roll call, please?
Okay, Ms. Timmons?
Here.
Mrs. Porter is here. Mrs. Oden?
Here. Here.
Okay, and Ms. Van Twyver is not, but we have Ms. O'Gara. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. On the agenda, we had two items. The first item is policy JLF, which is child abuse and neglect. I also gave you the law as we walked in on the New Hampshire Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Law. And Ms. O'Gara is going to lead us in that conversation.
Okay, so let me do myself one. So what you have on this is this is from the DCYF book on reporting child abuse, and refers to state statute RSA 169-C. On the back of it, you'll see it refers to C Appendix A. So it's a big manual. I just took out the pages that we needed to see. And then on the next page, you'll see the actual state statute, C29, C30, and C31. And that page that says the role of educators, page 45, is taken from the DCYF manual. Then the next page, front and back, is the New Hampshire Department of Education's technical advisory to the superintendent, which pretty much says that the superintendent has a duty to report all misconduct of educators off duty or on duty against a credential holder. So he's required to do that, and it also goes into the child abuse and neglect law. Educators having reason to suspect that another educator has been abused or neglected, a student shall report the same to DCYF. According to state statute 169C29, the Bureau, meaning New Hampshire Department of Education, and failure to report by someone who is misconduct could result in disciplinary action, and the New Hampshire Department of Education will conduct an investigation on the complaint. So that's the duty to report. You will also see on the last page, the New Hampshire Department of Education has a code of conduct, and they've written the code of conduct into the educational regulations. You'll see 510.01 and 510.02, responsibility to students. And if you look at 510.02 on the back page, it includes abuse, including but not limited to physical and emotional abuse, all those things, romantic relationships, sexual relationships up to 10 months after the student's graduation departure. And the last is to the school community. So in the technical advisory, you're going to see the duty for the person who's making the report to DCYF, that there's a duty to report it to the principal, and the principal has a duty to report it to the superintendent, and the superintendent has a duty to report it to the Department of Ed. So when the policy first came through, it only talked about the DCYF, but we have all these additional pieces.
Do you have any questions? Yes.
So these are supporting documents that go along with the policy?
Yes.
Okay, so they're all referenced in here, and they're part of what would be on file with the policy?
Right.
Do you want me to go through the policy?
Go ahead.
All right, so everything I changed is in red. So in the first paragraph, we have shall report. It's a mandatory reporting, so I changed it to must. And then The responsibility is to make an oral report immediately to DCYF by phone, and then to notify the school principal that the report has been made and provide the principal with a written report. DCYF, if they want a copy of the written report, they will let us know, but we need a written report internally. So it's mandatory, and anyone who fails to report any known abuse or neglect of a child could be charged with a misdemeanor. And that's, I think, 1 year jail time or up to $1,000 in fines. And if anybody feels that the child is in immediate danger, they should also call the police immediately. It goes into, and it's under RSA C29, I think C31. There's a immunity from liability for anybody who makes a good faith report. So you don't have to be proof as long as you suspect. And then the next paragraph goes into, at a minimum, what you're going to have to provide. But when an educator calls in to DCYF, sometimes they will ask additional information from the school about the student. The definitions of abandoned and sexually abused or intentionally physically injured or psychologically injured or physically injured by other than accidental means, you'll find that in RSA 169C3 that has all the definitions. And the next to the last paragraph, to my surprise, as I was looking at another school district's policy, and then I looked it up, there's a state statute that says every principal of the school has to post a sign with the DCYF contact numbers. So the bottom paragraph is about the education regulations, the code of conduct, about the superintendent and the principal's duty to report. Also, there's grounds, so in addition to a possible misdemeanor, if an educator abuses or neglects or abandons a child, they could have their certification revoked. And that's the 51101, the grounds for that. That's straight out of that regulation. So I would like to propose changing the title of the policy to include child abuse and neglect and safety and wellness of children, because I put in ED 51002, the New Hampshire Code of Conduct, because you will see in somewhere in there, I think it's number 4, it talks about abuse and neglect, but it also talks about other things that happen to students. So I think it's important for everybody to understand that code of conduct, and if we can't have it in here, then we should put it another board policy, but I don't think the NHSBA has gotten that far with the Commissioner's Code of Conduct.
I like the child abuse and neglect, safety and wellness as a title, because to clarify everything in this policy. So I think we should change the name. Do you agree, Ms. Odoms, Ms. Porter, on changing the title? Ms. Odom?
I'm just going to ask, would well-being be better than wellness?
Oh, yes, well-being is better than wellness.
Okay.
I probably meant to say well-being.
Okay.
I think it's actually in the Code of Conduct, it's well-being.
As well-being, okay.
Yes.
So it would be child abuse and neglect, safety and well-being.
Yes.
I think you said of children. Would it be best to have the word of students?
Is that on the first page? Wherever it
Child.
says
Child abuse may not be a student in this. I like child better than student.
So the law is written for any child.
Any
Okay.
child.
Okay.
And I think that's right. That's right from DCYF.
Ms. Porter?
Okay, so I do like the title. I have a couple of other questions. When the report is made and is kept internally, where is that kept?
So it is sent electronically to Director of Student Services. And when there's a complaint, most of the time I get it and I ask for the DCYF report.
So it's not kept at the school, the individual school?
It's in our student database program, so the school
Okay.
can look it up, and then also the Director of Student Services should have a copy of it.
Okay.
And then if it's against an educator, then I would get a copy too.
Okay. And is there, I know that wouldn't be in the policy, but is there an ongoing training for the adults who work in schools regarding this, like every time there's a new hire or at the beginning of a school year, is that already in place?
Yeah, so with everyone's orientation, we still have the POPs books. So we give one to everybody when they come in. And it's not all the board policies, but it's the ones that are they really need to know about it. And so that's it in there. We go in there, we go over it, not in detail, but we do go over it, and then they sign. And then every year or every other year, we have POPs training. So this year, I'm halfway through all the schools. I go to all the schools, and this year, it always includes sexual harassment, but it's really about a duty to report. So we have a duty to report across many different areas, like bullying, the bullying policy. People have a duty to report. The principal has a duty to investigate. Sexual harassment, whether it be the staff or the student, people have a duty to report. We have a duty to report with the child abuse and neglect. And it also dovetails into the seclusion and restraint policy, because part of that policy, if it's an improper restraint or if there's intentional physical touching, right, those also dovetail into DCYF and the duty to report, because you can see from the Department of Education and what they have said, it says it's not just that we're reporting on families. Like if you know somebody that you work with did something to a student, you have a duty to report. And if you're a credential holder, now you're being held to the standard under the statute, and now the New Hampshire Department of Ed is going to hold you to their rules too.
So those POPs trainings usually happen during a faculty meeting, is that
They
correct?
happen sometimes, so it's usually on early release, but some schools have their faculty meetings in the morning before schools. I think Mount Pleasant used to do it in the morning before, but like this week, I think I'm actually going to Mount Pleasant, and it's in the afternoon, I believe. So they have it on early release whenever they have those faculty meetings in the contract.
So, but how are we getting to paras, because they don't go to those meetings?
On January 9th, we had 3 trainings for paraeducators on Marcia and I, on the duty to report.
Excellent.
Yes.
Now, was that a mandatory thing for them
It
to
was
go?
mandatory.
Perfect, okay.
And every time someone has a POPs training, they're signing off again that they understand that these are the board policies and all of them are on the website, and that they have to comply with board policies, or they could have disciplinary action up to and including termination.
So do we also train secretaries and food service and custodial staff?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm trying to get to the secretaries next. I'm still going through all the teachers because that's a big group.
It is.
So I'm trying to get to the secretaries and the food service and the custodians.
Okay. And that's a lot to do every year, on top
So
of
we've
what
been
you
doing it
already
every other
do.
year, but this
Every
year
other.
with all these new requirements that came out, it was really important for us to get the word out. I think we're ahead of game. Other school districts are still trying to figure out how they're going to convey the message about the code of ethics and the code of conduct, and we're already out there with it.
Have you gotten any feedback from people about, I mean, it's a big thing. I'm just wondering, just curious.
They seem to know a little bit about it. You know,
Well, it's
about the
not brand
code
new.
of
It's not
conduct.
brand new. Yeah.
Honestly, I think the biggest part that they're surprised at is that the sexual harassment of kids. I think that they're very surprised, especially at the elementary level, and it does happen. I, you know, usually take our things that have happened recently in the news, and I put it up on the PowerPoint so they know it happens at all levels.
Thank you.
Ms. O'Gara, how long normally is the training?
It's about 40, 45 minutes. They don't have that long in the faculty meeting, but it's been going about 40, 45 minutes.
Okay. Ms. Odom?
Thank you. I have a question. What about long-term subs? A long-term sub might come in January, and you've already done that school. How do you handle that?
Well, they have the whole, when they go through the orientation, they have the whole POPs book that they are given, and they're expected to read and everything, so.
Okay, and they sign off on that? Okay, thank
So
you.
if you go in someone's personnel file, you could see like 5, 6, 7 of those sheets in there from every time that they've had it.
And it's usually yearly.
It hasn't been in the past. It used to be, and then it was slowed down a bit, and now I think it's going to be back on an annual basis.
Can I follow up? Do you do it at the new teacher orientation before school starts?
No, I'm not part
No?
of the new teacher orientation.
Pardon?
I am not part of the new teacher orientation.
Maybe that would be good. I mean, if you're still just getting to some schools, here it is almost February, then those new teachers at the schools that haven't been trained in this. They haven't gotten this training.
The ones that we're going to hire for next year,
No, the ones that you hired this year.
they get it during everybody gets it during the orientation.
Oh, okay.
There's nobody that doesn't have at least one piece of paper that's signed in their file.
Okay.
But it's not 40 to 45 minutes long, though. It's not the same thing as the POPs training.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. O'Gara, is that separate from the teacher's handbook? It's 2 separate pieces of paper that they sign, one for this sexual abuse, child abuse, I'm sorry, and one for student. Is it 2 separate?
There's no
Do they
teacher's
sign?
a handbook, no.
No? Okay.
Just it's a handbook of
Right.
POPs policies. It's mostly the personnel and, the discrimination policy is in there, child restraint and seclusion, bullying is in there, all the ones that they really need to know, the behavior standards is in there.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so where it says here that the principal has to post a sign with the, with the contact information for DCYF, is that what it is? Is there somewhere where this could be also posted? I'm just,
You mean the policy itself?
I don't know, the number is there. I'm just trying, I'm just thinking out loud. You have.
So it's.
I guess I'm wondering, in the new teacher orientation, like, there's got to be an agenda, and it seems like this should be fairly prominent in there. And that, I don't know, Ms. Oden, what you think about having this somewhere in the school. I mean, of all the policies, child safety, this is a big one.
I was just thinking too, I think if we're saying we're going to have a sign, I think the district ought to provide the sign, so every sign is the same in every school.
The sign has to come from DCYF.
Oh, okay.
It says it in the
Okay.
RSA,
Okay,
that it comes from them.
Right, so it would be the same.
Oh, so there must be something on that sign. I guess I haven't seen the
Yes,
sign.
it has the phone
Oh,
numbers on the
And it
sign.
says something.
And it probably says you have, I haven't seen the sign, but
Okay, all right.
they.
Okay, I feel good about that. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay.
And do you know how long it would take to get the sign?
No,
Those
I'm
signs?
saying, no, because we have a lot of signs for federal labor law and stuff, and usually you can get them pretty easily from government entities, so I'm sure we can just go on the DCYF website and we'll find it, or we'll call them and we'll get it.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this policy? JLF? No? Okay, since we have no other questions, should we rule on the child abuse and neglect, safety, and well-being part, or rule it separately? First rule on that piece and then rule on the policy?
Yeah, maybe we'll do them separately.
Yeah, well, so,
Is that
okay.
okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I make a motion to change the name of policy JLF to read Child Abuse and Neglect and Safety and Well-being of Children.
Okay.
second.
Here, second, so we take a vote. Go ahead and-
Odin. Your name is Mrs. Odin. Okay. Mrs. Odin?
Yes.
Mrs. Porter votes yes.
And Ms. Timmons vote yes.
Okay, 3 yes. Policy JLF. Okay.
Okay, now we're going to vote on to send JLF to the policy committee. The next policy committee meeting is whatever date it is. I don't know what date it is. But the very next policy meeting will be February 19th. We will send this to policy to go in front of the.
So do we
floor.
say JLF as
JLF
amended
child
or with changes?
With
or-
changes.
With changes.
to the policy committee on February 19th.
Okay.
Can we move to do that?
Okay, so I make a motion to send policy JLF with changes to the policy committee on February 19th.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call.
Okay. Mrs. Odin?
Yes.
Mrs. Porter says yes.
And Ms.
Ms.
Timmons
Timmons
says
says yes. 3 yes.
Okay, policy passed.
Okay.
Okay, also, we need to rescind 4400, child abuse and neglect.
Well, are we going to rescind that before this one
Sure,
is
could we-
passed in policy?
I thought so.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't know.
Okay, well then, we'll wait. Let me
Well,
see
no.
that. Because you
So-
don't have it with you anyway, it's not here.
I'm confused. So if we, is that the,
That's the old policy.
The old policy.
I mean, if we did it now, it wouldn't hurt anything.
it wouldn't? Okay,
No,
just checking. I don't know.
I'm
Okay.
looking at the former board chair.
we have a motion to,
Usually, you wait until the new policy is in effect to make sure that you do have a policy in effect. So I think it probably would be best to wait until policy committee or a full board meeting.
she have a point, because if we rescind it now, we won't have a policy in place.
Yep.
So, makes sense.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
all right,
Okay.
okay. So, the next thing on our agenda is personnel recommendations. Dated January 28, 2019, that you received in your packet. Do you have a motion to move to accept personnel recommendation dated January 28, 2019?
Second?
Okay.
So wait for Tim.
Any questions regarding this?
Yes, I do. There can be more retirements, correct?
That's exactly what I was going to say. So
Because the deadline hasn't come yet, okay.
The contract deadline is February 1st, so they have till the end of the day, February 1st. And in truth, since we got the packet together and got it out, I have like 3 or 4 more already.
There are others I know of who are, yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right, thank you.
Oh, that's why you said that, huh?
Yeah.
So, there's a
Okay,
motion.
wait a second.
Okay.
Dated January 28th. Okay, so the motion was to accept the personnel recommendations dated January 28th, 2019, by Mrs. Timmons, seconded by Mrs. Porter. So Mrs. Oden,
Yes.
Ms. Porter votes yes, Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Yes, so 3 yes. Okay.
Okay, so we have nothing else on the agenda. Anything that you'd like to bring up regarding HR? We can do that right now before we adjourn.
I just want to say congratulations to people who are retiring. Run for the board.
We're losing teachers with a lot of years of experience.
We are, these are some, I
A
know,
lot of positions that are going to be hard to fill. We have some,
One of the ones I received today, she's been teaching for 50 years.
how long?
Oh, he can't hear you.
One of the teachers that I received today, I can't give a name, she's been teaching for 50 years.
oh my
Whoa,
goodness.
that's a lot of years.
Wow.
Wow, congratulations and sleep late.
Yeah, these are some great people on here, so I wish them all well. Few of them, yep, okay, so,
Have a motion to adjourn?
okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Second it.
Mrs. Oden. Mrs. Timmons. Should do it the way the aldermen do. Everybody say yes, do you vote? They just go yes. Mrs. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Porter votes yes. Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Okay, so we are adjourned at 6:05.
Oh.
Oh, that clock works again.
I know.
Okay, so-
Okay.